To the meeting of Brant County Council, March the 11th, 2025. Attendance has been taken. Notice that, noting that we're all here tonight. We have a land acknowledgement to go through, a second thing on the agenda, and Councillor Pierce is going to take us through that.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As we gather, we acknowledge that we meet on the lands and territories of the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation, Six Nations of the Grand River, and the traditional territory of the Attawandarong. We remind ourselves that the County of Brant is situated on lands that are full of rich Indigenous history and home of many First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people today. We recognize the significance of their contributions to the past, present, and future of this land. As a county, we have a shared responsibility for stewardship of the land in which we live and work, and a commitment to the Truth and Reconciliation call to action. We commit to continuing learning, reflecting on our past, and working in allyship.
Thanks, Councillor Pierce. The next thing on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. Does anyone have anything to add to the agenda and/or other business? Seeing none. Oh, noting that the procedural bylaw be suspended to allow consideration for items 1.1, 12.1, 16.1, 16.2, as they are not matters under the Planning Act. Councillor Howes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Bell, that the County of Brant Council agenda and addendum for March 11, 2025 be approved, and that, as you just noted, Section 4E of the County of Brant's procedural bylaw be suspended to allow the consideration of items 11.1, 12.1, 16.1, and 16.2, as they are not matters under the Planning Act.
Thank you. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Number 4 on the agenda is the declaration of pecuniary interests. If you have them, please speak up when they come up. Number 5 on the agenda is delegations. We don't have any registered delegations tonight, and we don't have any registered speakers tonight, noting that this is going to be an open meeting tonight, so everyone in the room has an opportunity to speak at the appropriate time. So we don't have any delegations. Next thing on the agenda is 6.1, which is the adoption of the minutes from the previous meeting. And Councillor Chambers, you have that.
Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor McAlpine that they be adopted.
Thank you. Are there any questions to Councillor Chambers' report? The minutes of the last meeting? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Business arising from any of those minutes? Seeing none, we'll move on to 8.1. This is a public hearing under the Planning Act, and it's to be received as information. Can I get a mover to put it on the floor, please? Councillor Pierce and Councillor Coleman. It's on the floor. The presenter tonight will be Mr. Laurie Graham. Okay.
Thank you. I'll be presenting zoning bylaw amendment application ZBA 2924LG for 24 Elm Street. The application is to be received as information at this time. The subject lands are located north of William Street, east of Elm Street, and west of the Grand River within the geographic township of Paris. The subject lands are considered an existing lot of record with a unique configuration. The lot has no frontage along Elm Street and is accessible by way of Elm Lane, and the lot has an area of approximately 0.39 acres. The subject lands contain one existing dwelling and 2 accessory structures, a shed and a detached garage, which is to be located to facilitate construction of the future addition. The surrounding area consists of residential land uses to the north, east, and south, and the Grand River to the west. The subject lands are serviced by municipal sewer and water. The subject lands are designated as community nodes within the County of Brant official plan and located within the urban settlement area of Paris. The lands are zoned as special policy area, residential singles and semis within the zoning bylaw 6116. Zoning bylaw amendment application ZBA 2924LG proposes the following amendments to the zoning bylaw. To permit a residential addition on an existing lot of record with a 0-meter frontage, current access by way of Elm Lane. To permit a reduced street setback of 2.57 meters from Elm Lane, whereas 6 meters is required. To recognize the existing interior side yard setback of 0.6 meters, whereas 1.2 meters is required. To recognize the existing rear yard setback of 0.76 meters, whereas 6 meters is required. And to recognize an addition greater than 50% of the ground floor area of the existing residential building within a special policy area. Through the circulation to commenting agencies, it has been determined that a geotechnical study will be required due to the proximity to the slope erosion hazard. This study is to be provided and reviewed in advance of the application moving forward for a recommendation. Thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, before we go to questions, I want to apologize for getting your name wrong. It's not Lori, it's Lauren. Does anyone at the council have a question for the presenter, for the planner? Councilor Miller?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through you to Planner Graham. What makes this a special policy area? Why is it designated so?
Through the chair, due to the existing floodplain area, that's why it's special policy.
Okay, so any if somebody's putting an addition on, like say in this case, are they allowed to have a basement or a crawl space, or do they got to go just on a cement pad?
Through the chair, I know that it's very specific with regards to habitable space. It would have to be either where at the level it currently is or above. The applicant is proposing to have it above the garage. I'm not sure with regards to a basement, however, I can't confirm that.
Okay, I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Any other questions for the planner? Seeing none, thank you. We'll call on the agent, who is Matt. Oh, Bailey.
Oh,
You're close.
I'll never get it right.
I messed up a name, you can mess up a name.
Mayor Bradley and members of Brant County Council. I don't want to repeat all the information that Lauren just mentioned. I think some of you may be familiar with the property. It's on the east bank of the Grand River, just north of Willow Street. And if you take the trail north of Willow Street, you'll walk by this property. It's in the floodplain of the flats in the special policy area. It allows more flexibility in terms of development within the floodplain that would normally happen. But I think one of the key points is to have the habitable area above the flood level. And you see in the diagram that's on the screen here, the addition to the house will have a 3-bay garage at the ground level, and on the second story there will be 2 bedrooms, a living area, 2 bathrooms. The living area will only be accessed from inside the house. It's not intended to be an apartment or a separate dwelling unit. The owner of the house, it's a family of 7 people living in that house, and it's a small house, and they need additional space, and that's really what's driving this application. Also, their hobbies. The owner's a car enthusiast. He likes repairing cars and restoring cars. So the garage space will be used for personal hobbies, storage of vehicles, that kind of thing. It's not intended that it would be a commercial garage at all. It'll be just for private use. I think one of the things driving this application is that the property is unusual. There's a house on the property and it has absolutely no street frontage. It is accessed only from Elm Lane, which is not a public road, which is required in the zoning bylaw. Elm Lane is owned by the county. It is a public lane and provides access, but it's not a road. Other reasons for the application is that, like many of the properties in that area, wasn't built according to today's standards in terms of zoning bylaw, setbacks, rear yard requirements, and those kind of regulations that are common in the zoning bylaw. So it certainly predates the existing current zoning bylaw that you find there. So the addition conforms to the official plan. It conforms to the policies in the community node. Lauren mentioned that approval from the GRCA will be required. They require more geotechnical information than what was provided to them in the circulation for this application. We're striving to provide that information and to satisfy the requirements for the GRCA. The owner is also has worked hard to satisfy other requirements of the county. They've had stage 1 and stage 2 archaeological assessments for this addition, a tree saving plan. All of that has been provided as part of the application. I think Lauren mentioned, I went through the site development plan. I don't think I need to repeat that. I do want to say one point. A lot of it is basically dealing with the situation of the existing building on the property as it exists now. We are looking at a reduced setback from Elm Lane, which we had when we met with county staff to discuss what is the front lot line. And it was decided it'd be best that it is Elm Lane, which provides access to the property. However, part of the front lot line is actually rear lot line of the neighboring property fronting onto Willow Street. So the reduced setback for 2.57 meters from Elm Lane is basically from that portion of the lot line, not the lot line that's actually facing the lane itself. The rest of it is basically to accommodate the existing situation and also to recognize the size of the addition. It is over the 50% of the ground floor area. The existing house is a story and a half, but it's not a large home. So that's really the basis for that the size difference. Other than that, other than the side and setback, rear yard, side yard requirements, the other requirements of the property are met in terms of size, lot coverage, open space. They're all met. So we're working towards meeting requirements of the GRCA, and when we have that back, we will. Hopefully we'll be back here and asking for your approval for the amendment. I understand that the owner of the property is here as well and would like to speak. So if you have any questions, I'll be pleased to answer them.
Thank you. Does council have any questions to the agent on the application? Councilor Howes, you're first.
Thanks, through the mayor, and I don't know if this is best directed towards you or towards the applicant, but so there's an existing freestanding garage,
Yes,
and it's going to move kind of across the yard
yes,
and remain a freestanding garage.
correct.
And then where it's currently today located is going to be this addition, 3-bay garage with the residential accommodations upstairs attached to the main house, right?
Correct.
Right. Okay. Thanks.
Any other questions? Councillor Bell?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a question about the existing deck. I'm looking at the drawing that you had in, or the staff have put in the package. It's a very large existing deck which seems to impede the access to that right-hand garage door on this drawing. Is the deck going to be removed?
Not to my understanding, no. No, it's basically a porch that wraps around the two sides of the house.
It makes it look very difficult to get a car in there, but maybe that's not the purpose.
Any other questions for the agent? Seeing none. As I said, this is a public meeting and it's now open. So if there's anyone in the room that wants to speak to the application, you can come forward now. If you can just give me your name, please, and your address for the clerk.
My name's Ted Horsfall. I own 24 Elm Street. I want to thank you two for stepping up here and saying what you needed to. And two of my kids actually had something they wanted to say. If that was all right.
That's great.
Hi, my name is Chloe. I'm here today to speak on behalf of my two parents, my 4 siblings, and myself. We live in a small town here in the county, as you guys have seen. And as much as we love our home and the memories we've made in it, the reality is that we've outgrown it. I have 4 siblings, and with all of us sharing rooms, it's become more and more difficult to have our own space. As you can imagine, with 7 people under one roof, things can get pretty crowded. And we do our best to make it work because we love each other and we love our home, but we also dream of having a little more room to breathe. That's why we're looking for your approval to build an addition onto our home. It's not about wanting something luxurious or extravagant, it's about having enough space for us all to live comfortably. My parents work incredibly hard to provide for us, and they always put our family first. I know it would mean the world to them and the world to us if we were able to create a little more space so that everyone could have a little bit more privacy and comfort. This house is more than just 4 walls to us, it's our home. We don't want to leave it, we just hope for the opportunity to make it a bit bigger so it can grow with our family. We love this community, and we hope that we can continue to call it home for many years to come, just with a little extra room. Thank you for taking the time to listen to me today. I truly hope you can see that this addition isn't just about the space, it's about making our family living situation a little bit easier and a lot more comfortable. Thank you.
I think it's as low as it can go.
Hello to you, County. My name is Kane Horsfall. One of my reasons why you should let my father build this addition is the laundry room and bathroom will be even closer to my bedroom, which will increase the efficiency of conquering my laundry. It also helps because in case one of us is sick, out of me and my siblings, we can run to the bathroom toilet really quick and not make a mess anywhere other than the bathroom. Yuck. With this addition, it will allow our family of 7 to have a more functional household and increase the productivity of our morning routines, which will subsequently allow my siblings and I to have clearer heads to put 100% into our education. My sisters, Brooke and Chloe, currently share a room, but Chloe, who is much older, is becoming a young woman. Like Chloe needs her own room, Chloe being in her own room will allow my sisters, Brooke and Indy, to have a much bigger bedroom. As my sisters get a new room, my brother Jake and I will also get a new room. Last but not least, my dad and stepmom Hillary will have more space and be able to completely change the layout of our house. Thank you for taking the time to listen to me read this speech. My kind regards, Kane Horsfall and family.
Are there any questions to the speakers? No? Thank you very much. Oh, Councillor Kyle, I'm sorry.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, not a question, but just a comment. And I'd like to congratulate two young people for coming and saying their piece. That's awesome.
Yeah. Thank you. It is awesome. Thank you very much. Because it is a open meeting, does anyone else in the room have anything to say about the application, to or against? And I'll ask for the third time, is there anyone in the room that has anything to say to or against the application in front of us? Seeing no other comments, noting that this is here for information only, I'll call the vote. All those in favor of the recommendation to receive as information? Opposed and carried. Thank you. Takes us to number, careful there, Spencer. Takes us to number 9.1 on the agenda, which is 49 River Road. Logan, you're going to speak, our planner for the county, to the application.
Slowly loading.
And again, just noting this is a public meeting and it's now open. Can I get someone to put it on the floor, please, before we begin? I need it put on the floor for discussion. Councillor Coleman, Councillor Pierce, thank you. Whenever you're ready, Logan, thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, Council, Mayor Bailey. I'll be presenting zoning bylaw amendment application ZBA 20-24-DN located at 49 River Road in the former geographic township of Brantford, from J.H. Cahoon, on behalf of the owners, Renzo and Lenuda Tonieto. The subject land is approximately 5.47 hectares in total lot area with a frontage of approximately 98 meters on River Road and are located west of Newport Road and east of Cockshut Road. The property is serviced by private well and septic system. Currently, the land contains one single detached residential dwelling and detached garage. The surrounding areas features low-density single-detached residential dwellings to the east, west, and north, with agricultural and natural heritage features to the south. The application was deemed complete October 16th, 2024, prior to the 2023 official plan coming into effect. As a result, the application is being reviewed under the 2012 official plan policies. Subject lands are designated rural residential, natural heritage, and agriculture, and currently zoned agricultural and natural heritage within the County of Brant zoning bylaw. The applicant proposes to amend the zoning on the subject lands from agricultural to rural residential to conform with the 2012 official plan policies. In support of the application, a number of documents were received, including a planning justification report, slope assessment, pre-con minutes, and a zoning and severance sketch. Staff recommendation is to rezone with special exemptions to ensure that the future development is limited, consistent, and compatible with the surrounding land uses. The applicant is required to facilitate a subsequent Planning Act application proposing to sever for the creation of one new residential lot on the subject lands. Should this rezoning application be approved and the applicant proceeds with the severance application for one new residential lot, this would be supported by the 2012 official plan. However, after that, any additional severance applications would be reviewed under the 2023 official plan, which does not support the creation of multiple lots in the countryside designation, as outlined in section 2.3 of the official plan. To date, comments have been received as part of the public circulation. In response, information and potential development and permitted uses within the proposed new zone have been provided to the public. Thank you. Happy to answer any questions.
Does council have any questions for the planner? Councillor Miller.
Yeah, I just through Mr. Mayor to Logan. Logan, you don't have a a map of the 2023 official plan.
Through the mayor, this is being reviewed under the 2012 official plan, so that's why that's been included.
I'm aware of that, but when you were giving your comment, you said that once, if this were to go through, then afterwards it would revert to the 2023 official plan.
Through the mayor.
And
So
that's why I was hoping to see a map of what it looked like. With the
through the mayor,
2023 official
any
plan.
subsequent application for the consent would be reviewed under the 2012 official plan as well, because it would be subsequent to this application itself, because it was deemed complete prior to the new official plan coming into effect, which is why it's being reviewed under the 2012 official plan.
Councillor Miller, you're okay with that?
Is just through the chair, if I could, is there a specific question you're looking for going back to the new official plan that we can maybe address?
I'm looking at not this one, but maybe future applications down the road, as indicated in our package. That's what I was looking for.
So through the chair, so as Logan noted, through the new official plan, the policies are more restrictive and don't allow multiple lot severances. So anything coming in the future, that's where the zoning that we're proposing tonight will be restrictive. But the official plan itself, the policies will prohibit multiple lots being severed. So you wouldn't see a cul-de-sac or anything like that taking place. And the way the zoning is being structured this evening, that's being presented in the bylaw, will actually restrict them from coming in without another planning approval if they tried. But the new policies would kick in and wouldn't allow multiple severances.
Okay, thank you.
And Councillor Kyle?
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Just to clarify with staff, then there's an email attached to our package that shows the hypothetical about 5 different lots in there. That would not be allowed under the whatever we do with this if they were to come back with another application.
Through the mayor, that's correct.
Councillor Coleman?
And further that, Mr. Mayor, but that could be appealed.
Through the chair to the Councilor Coleman. So they could come in. Anybody can make an application at any point in time, and we would then give our planning recommendation based on the policies in front of us and the policy framework, which means that they would be trying to justify they meet the official plan, or we say that we would not, and they could appeal that decision. So assuming council would turn it down because it doesn't meet the official plan, then they could appeal it, and then it would go to the OT, where they would again have to justify how they meet the official plan or not. So they're still stuck with trying to resolve how they would meet the official plan, which they wouldn't be able to justify it under. So they would ultimately be trying to amend the official plan and make an argument at that point in time. It doesn't stop them from applying, but you would have to come back in front of council for a decision regardless.
So what I'm saying is anything is possible.
Agreed.
Are there any other questions or comments to the planner? Seeing none, thank you. We're now going to call on Bob, the agent.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, members of the committee. The application that's before you is a result of a process that we got to where we wanted to sever one lot to create one single family lot adjacent to the existing. Yes, there were plans prepared long time ago for additional development on the property, but that is not the intention of this application. The owners just want to obtain that additional lot. Full stop. We've read the planning set report, and thank you, Logan, for making the presentation. I think it was accurate, and we're seeking council approval for what is presented in front of the committee. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Does council have any questions to the agent? Seeing none. Is there anyone in the room that has any questions to the agent regarding this application? Noting that it's for approval. I'll ask the second time, does anyone in the room want to speak to the application to the application that's on the floor? And I'll ask the third time, is there anyone in the room that wants to speak to this application for or against? Seeing none, I'll call the meeting closed and I'll ask council what they want to do. It's on the floor, it has a seconder. Is there anything else that anyone around the horseshoe wants to say regarding this application? If we vote on it and we support the recommendation, it's to approve. All those in favor? Opposed? And carried. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and thanks Logan again for the presentation.
Thank you. It takes us to 9.2, which is 719 Watts Pond Road. And again, it's Logan. He's going to be the planner speaking up on behalf of the application.
Thank you. I will be presenting the zoning bylaw amendment application ZBA 1-25-LK for 719 Watts Pond Road from Stephen Ferry of Loopster Nixon LLP on behalf of the owners Betty and John Hamilton. Staff are recommending approval of this application. Subject lands are located north of Watts Pond Road, east of Pinehurst Road, and west of West River Road. Subject lands contain an existing single detached dwelling and 3 accessory structures. Subject lands are rectangular in shape and with a lot area of 40.2 hectares with a frontage of approximately 500 meters along Watts Pond Road. Surrounding area consists of agricultural land uses and low density residential. The subject lands are privately serviced through well and septic. Subject lands are designated as agriculture within the County of Brant official plan and zoned as agricultural within the zoning bylaw 6116. The applicants previously applied for a surplus farm dwelling severance, which was granted conditional approval by the Committee of Adjustment on January 20th, 2024. The applicants are requesting to rezone the retained lands from agricultural to agricultural site-specific A9 to prohibit a dwelling unit as a permitted use in order to satisfy a condition of the related consent application B31-23-HH. As a result of the application, the severed lands will maintain an area of 1.2 hectares with a frontage of 70 meters. Portion of land to be rezoned has an area of 39 hectares and will be consolidated with the abutting parcel to the east at 684 Paris Plains Church Road. No comments were received as part of the public circulation. It is my professional opinion that the request is appropriate and represents good planning. Therefore, I'm recommending approval for zoning bylaw amendment application ZBA 1-25-LK for the reasons outlined in the report. Thank you.
If I can get a counselor to put it on the floor for me so we can discuss it. Councillor Bell and Councillor Oakley, thank you. Are there any questions to the planner, to Logan from council? Councillor Bell?
Yeah, yes, through you to Logan. Did I hear you correctly say that this parcel would be added to the parcel to the east?
To the mayor, that's correct.
And the parcel to the east is zoned?
I don't have that information for you right at this time.
Do you know?
So just a philosophical question. Can we move a piece of land that's zoned agricultural to another piece of land, add it to another piece of land that is not zoned agricultural?
I think we...
Through the chair to Councilor Bell. So yes, you can add, properties can have split zoning if necessary. I'm just checking the zoning, but I think both parcels are all zoned agricultural in that area. So you could have an agricultural zone and an A9 zone, for example, on the same parcel. There'd just be zoning regulations would apply separately.
Well, I've got a small drawing here, figure 3, which indicates the zoning to be EX, which I think is extraction.
Yes, through the chair, EX would be an extractive zone.
Is it the intent that this plot of land ultimately becomes also EX?
Not at this time without a future rezoning. So there would need a future rezoning to amend this parcel to have an EX zone on it.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions for the planner? Seeing none, thank you. We do have agents here. We have Sally, Steve, and Austin. Who's here to speak to the, Stephen's here.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yep, Mr. Chair, through you, good evening, Your Worship, Mr. Mayor, and members of council. I think it's quite a task to follow the delegations for 2024 Elm Street, but I'll try my best. As mentioned, I'm Stephen Ferry of Luption LP, and I'm appearing before you on behalf of the applicants John and Betty Hamilton, respecting item 9.2. Thank you, Mr. Keene, for your presentation, a summary of the application. As is very succinctly set out in the staff report and in the summary provided by Mr. Keene previously, the zoning bylaw amendment before you tonight for your consideration does one thing, and that is a very minor and technical in nature. And what it is doing is rezoning part of the property from agricultural to agricultural special exemption 9A9. The purpose of that amendment, or the effect of that amendment, is to prohibit a dwelling unit as a permitted use on that portion of the property. I wanted to appear today just to simply note a few things for this council. Firstly, I wanted to note that our clients have worked diligently through a process with staff to revise their original application to the form and substance of the zoning bylaw amendment before you today. And on that point, I have to thank staff for their hard work on this file. It truly was a pleasure working with your staff. I do a lot of work in a lot of municipalities across Ontario. And I have to say that on this file, your staff really set the bar high, and they should be commended for their professionalism and work on the file. Secondly, I wanted to provide my professional opinion that this application is very minor and technical in nature. It's required simply to satisfy a condition of a lot line adjustment, which was previously approved by the Committee of Adjustment, as was noted by the councillor. The lands are, it's a lot line adjustment because lands are being removed from one lot and added to another. That a larger agricultural parcel will be approximately 140 hectares once it's merged. This condition that we're trying to satisfy through the application before you today was supported by staff, the condition itself, and was implemented by your Committee of Adjustment. I note that the adjacent lands, municipally known as 655 Watts Pond Road, is also zoned A9, and that in a very similar application to the one before you today, before this council, and that approval was approved by this council in 2023 and was also supported by staff. The true purpose of the condition, in my respectful submission, is to protect, the condition and the ZBA that's meeting the condition, of course, is to protect the agricultural area from the incursion of residential sensitive land uses, and to protect the agricultural area. Thirdly, I wanted to strongly confirm that we agree with the conclusions of staff that the application certainly conforms to the Planning Act, and in particular Section 3410. It is consistent with the provincial policy statement, including both policies respecting extraction and agricultural protection. It conforms with the County of Brant official plan on both those policy areas as well, and it meets the intent and is in compliance with the applicable policies outlined in the zoning bylaw. Finally, I wanted to confirm that there were no comments or concerns that we've certainly seen from the public nor any county department or commenting agency on this matter. So on behalf of my clients, I'm requesting that council adopt the recommendations from staff and approve the zoning bylaw application before you, and I'm more than happy to answer any questions you might have. So I just wanted to thank you all in advance for your consideration.
Yeah, well, thank you. Does council have any comments to the agent of the application? Councillor Miller.
Is there significant aggregates underneath this property that you guys are aware of?
Thank you for the question, Councillor Miller. Through you, Mr. Chair, I've been retained on this matter. I'm not aware of the extractive potential of this property. I can only make assumptions, which I will refrain to do. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Do you have anything to add there? No. Okay, any other questions? sorry, Councillor Kyle.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Through you to staff, I think. So A9 is kind of along the same lines as Councillor Bell's question earlier. So A9 prohibits any residential dwellings from going on there to protect the agricultural area. But does it also protect it from being rezoned or redesignated for extraction in this case? I'm just more out of curiosity than like how far does that protection go?
Through the chair to Councillor Kyle. So the policy framework, provincial policy, and our official plan would allow them to come in to apply for the extractive zoning if there's aggregate material there, and they would have to go through that process with M&R, the site plan approval process through M&R, as well as our zoning process. And the extractive zoning is temporary for the time period of when the gravel is extracted. So ultimately, as per all the policies, they would revert it back to agriculture at the end of the day. It's usually done in a staged process. We keep it moving back into agriculture. Long term, the designation should stay the same in the official plan unless we suddenly change it, but it should stay that agricultural designation as per the official plan, which does allow extraction.
Are there any other questions from council? Seeing none, since this is a public meeting and we did declare it open, is there anyone in the room that wants to speak to or against this application? I'll ask for a second time. Is there anyone in the room that wants to speak to or against this application? And I'll ask for the third time. Is there anyone in the room that wants to speak to or against this application? Seeing none, I'll call the meeting closed. Council, do you have any other concerns or comments on this application, noting that it's up? Councillor Bell.
Yeah, I'm just looking at attachment 4 in the documents we've got, and there is a statement. Well, there's an indication there that Watts Pond Road will be part of the future Paris East bypass study. I know that may be a long way away, longer because this council chose not to deal with the study quite now. But would this impact are there any implications to a future Paris East bypass should we make this decision to agree to accept this change?
Jeremy?
So yes, to Councillor Bell. No, it shouldn't really impact anything. The location the house is already there, so the house is existing. The creation here actually with the A9 would actually protect that the land remain vacant. Basically, no other house comes on site, so it would still remain that opportunity for a road to buy, if should that be determined that a bypass be put in, that there's room to put it in there. So it shouldn't impact that at all.
Back in my question, through you, Mr. Mayor, we have talked about Paris East bypass quite a few times, and we've all been told that it can't happen now because we're extracting aggregate. Is this going to just, if it becomes another piece of aggregate extraction, is this going to put off further the date by which a Paris East bypass could be constructed?
Through the chair to Councillor Bell, I would say if they come forward with an aggregate extraction request and we're reviewing it, we'd have to review that issue when we're reviewing the application and determine if there's implications and whether and how we protect or preserve for that or protect against it. In some respects, we may be able to use the aggregate in the pit to build a road. So we'd have to review it at that time when the application comes forward and then determine where we are with a bypass at that time also.
Correct me if I'm wrong, again through you, Mr. Mayor, that the understood situation is that we could not put a bypass east of the town because there is ongoing aggregate extraction, and this would prolong that. Is that a fair observation?
Through the chair to Councillor Bell, no different. I would say there's no difference from today in this case whatsoever, because they could come in tomorrow and apply for an aggregate application if they didn't even come through this process. So that it's the same situation. They could come through. They could have come a year ago and applied for an aggregate application on this property, which would have been the same situation as if they come in a year from now. So that implication to the bypass is the same regardless. If they come in If there is an approved site plan, yes, and an approved aggregate resource removal, that may delay a bypass coming through there in the future, yes, if they get planning approvals to do that. But this application doesn't change them coming forward, whether they came in last year or today, it doesn't change that scenario for us.
Okay, if I make one final comment, I think it, as a non-aggregate expert, it would appear to me that there's aggregate across on the north side of Wattsbon Road. This will potentially add to it. This will then potentially put off the date by which we have a Paris East bypass. And I think we should be really clear about that as we take this decision.
Thank you. Councillor Coleman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Not to argue with my fellow councillor, but I've sat here for 20 some years and I've never heard that there could not be an east bypass for Paris because of aggregate.
Would you like to rebuttal?
I would.
Councillor Bell.
So this is where the planners have to come to the fore and say, when we've had this conversation before, you know, we had a debate in this council probably early in this term. It was the Master Transportation Plan update, and there was one line item which was talking about the study of a Paris East bypass. And I made the motion, I think, together with Councillor Oakley, that we move it forward from what was suggested in the Master Transportation Plan, which was to do it in, I think, 2041, to bring it into the term of this council, so that we would actually be able to plan ahead better. This council chose not to follow it, and that's the way councils work. I fully understand that. But unless I'm mistaken, in that conversation, and in the lead up to that Master Transportation Plan recommendation, there was the understanding that because we had an extraction activity going on in that area, which was not due to finish until, I think, 2040 something, there would never be an east bypass until that time. Now, this is where staff can help me. Maybe I've misunderstood it. Maybe I'm imagining it, Brian. But staff could just clarify that. I would appreciate it. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. It's not very often I'm wrong, Brian. But if I'm wrong, I will accept it.
Through the chair, I can't confirm or deny because of the history. I don't know the details out there. So all I can say is it's not relevant to this current application, and it doesn't change the current application that we're dealing with tonight. So I can't confirm or deny a history of what was said in the past. I don't have that detail, but it does not change the application in front of us tonight.
Councillor Chambers, you're first, and then Councillor Pierce and Oakley.
I was just going to reiterate what the planning official just said. It's irrelevant to this application at this point. So it's a wonderful history lesson, but let's deal with the application in front of us.
Thank you. Councillor Pierce, exactly what you were going to say. Councillor Oakley, do you have something different?
Sir, I just want to definitely have it reiterated my understanding of what the Director of Planning is saying, which is whether this is approved or not, that does not impact the likelihood of success of a hypothetical aggregate extraction, and thus it's not relevant to discussion of approving or not, because if they want to bring forward, they could. It doesn't matter whether or not we say yes or no this evening to this particular application.
Thank you, Councillor Oakley. Any other comments or concerns about this application, noting that the vote will be to support staff recommendation to approve? Nothing? All those in favor? Opposed? And noted and carried. Thank you. Takes us to 9.3, which is 249 Garden Ave. And Logan, you're still up. Logan's going to speak on the application. I need someone to get on the floor. Councillor Oakley and Councillor Garneau. Whenever you're ready, Logan.
Thank you. I'll be presenting the temporary use extension zoning bylaw amendment application ZBA 27-24-LK, located at 249 Garden Ave from MHBC Planning on behalf of the owner, Paramjit Singh. The subject lands have a total lot area of 4,700 square meters with 500 meters of frontage along Garden Ave. Currently, the lands contain one temporary use sales trailer. Surrounding area features agricultural land uses to the north, east, and south, and the city of Brantford boundary to the west. Subject lands are designated agriculture within the 2023 official plan and zoned agricultural within the County of Brant zoning bylaw 6116. The applicant proposes the extension of the temporary use zoning bylaw to permit the continued use of the sales trailer for a period of 3 years. To date, no comments have been received as part of this public circulation. The sales trailer meets the intent of the types of uses that are intended to be temporary in nature. The residential sales trailer exists on the subject lands at this time. The use is compatible with the surrounding land uses, and limited nuisance is expected as a result of the sales trailer use extension. The proposal does not require the extension or expansion of county services. The temporary sales trailer is pre-existing and no changes are being proposed. The site accommodates on-site parking, and the sales trailer will service the live community developments within the county. It's my professional opinion that the request for the temporary use extension is appropriate and represents good planning, and therefore it's my recommendation that the application ZBA 27-24-LK be approved. Thank you.
Thanks, Logan. Are there any questions for Logan? I think we've gone through this once before with the same issue. None? We do have someone here. We have the agent of the application online, do we? No? Not here in the room. Okay, we don't have that. No questions. This is a public meeting, as we said, and it was declared open. Is there anyone in the room that wants to speak to or against this application? And is there anyone in the room that wants to speak to or against this application? I'll ask for the third time if there's anyone in the room that wants to speak to or against this application. Seeing none, we'll call the meeting closed. Does council have anything else to add or any concerns about the application, noting that if we vote, we are voting with staff to approve? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thanks, Logan. Takes us to number 10 on the agenda, which is consent items, and we don't have any. 10.2 is consent items to be received, and we don't have any. Committee reports. 11.1 is the Paramedic Services Committee. Councillor Miller.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. That's moved by myself, second by Councillor Pierce, that the Paramedic Services Committee special meeting minutes of March 5th, 2025 be approved.
All those in favor? Are there any questions? I'm sorry. Are there any questions to Councillor Miller on his report? Seeing none, all those in favor? Thank you. Staff report. 12.1, we have Mr. Lee. He has a Brant Municipal Enterprises strategic plan and corporate mandate. Are there any questions to Mr. Lee on his report? I need a mover and a seconder to get on the floor. I'm sorry, Councillor Pierce and Councillor Coleman. Any questions for Daryl? Councillor Miller.
Councillor Miller. Can't let Daryl leave without getting a couple questions. The three, Mr. Mayor, to Daryl. You're shifting the focus of BME a little bit, but you will still be looking at energy, things like that, nature.
Yeah, certainly through Mayor Bailey to Councilor Miller. Yeah, absolutely. I think renewable energy and working with various partners to develop green energy, renewable energy projects is still a significant part of the strategic plan. And I think more than ever, working with the shareholder, working with the county, I think, to be honest, we have probably more kind of projects in the pipeline or approved this year for the shareholder that are related to energy conservation or solar on rooftops, various things. But I think we have more than ever kind of on their project list. So I think that remains, Councillor, really a focal point for BME and will continue as far as I'm aware.
Okay. Second question, IESO put out an RFP for more electrical generation because the province will use more than we produce in a year or two. Maybe we're there now. I don't know. Did BME respond to any of those RFPs, or are you aware of any private entities that apply to our RFPs in the county?
Certainly, again, through the mayor, certainly we are working, currently BME is working with a private sector developer to try to submit under the LT2 process, so that next round of submissions. So we're going to be briefing the BME board later this month in March in terms of the status of that. There are a few obstacles lining up, but certainly we've been kind of very aware of that process and involved. And again, this council will recall the partnership that there was no execution finally with the Boralex kind of initiative, the battery storage initiative at the Paris transfer station lands, but there are ongoing discussions to put a new submission together. But having said that, I will want to brief the board because there are some kind of challenges looming, but certainly we would like to be part of that process, but we'll need to partner, and we do have a partner that we've been chatting with, yes.
Okay, and then one comment, when you make a submission, my understanding is you need a municipal resolution supporting it, so anytime you're ready, let us know.
Yes, through the chair, I think an MSR is critical to that process. So when we have something, I guess, more fully baked, we will be certainly in front of council. Yes.
Thanks.
Any other, Councillor Pierce?
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. If I could, just a quick comment on this. And thanks to Daryl, because and as part of the BME board, we spent several hours back in December at a workshop going through all these. It was input by all, which it was great. It was a lot of good ideas went around, and we kind of consolidated them and then gave them to Daryl to kind of weed through and kind of come up with this. And I think it when he brought it back to the BME board, I know it was well received, and it's definitely I think it's set us up for, not that we weren't set up for success, but I believe this has set us up for success. If you look at how BME's kind of evolved over the last couple of years with different business ventures and the board and CEO and all kinds, there's been a lot of change. And I think this has just kind of solidified us for going forward. So I just want to say thanks, Daryl. And it was a good day with a lot of good ideas brought forward, and this is kind of the end result of it.
Thanks, Councillor Pierce. Are there any other questions for Daryl before we call the vote? So the vote is that the revised Brant Municipal Enterprise Strategic Plan and Corporate Mandate be approved. Any other comments, questions? Call the vote. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thanks, Daryl. Takes us to number 13 on the agenda, which is communications. We have none. Resolutions, we have none. 15, no one said they had any new business, but we've had a whole meeting gone by since then. Does anyone now have any new business? Councillor Pierce, then Councillor Miller.
Now that vote has been done on the whole Watts Pond Road and all that kind of stuff, I recall the conversation about that east bypass is it could not proceed until such time as the aggregate was fully extracted from there. It wasn't the fact that the aggregate would prevent it from happening. It was the fact that it could not proceed until such time as that aggregate was extracted. And that was, as Councillor Bell said, it was like 2040 or something like that. So that's kind of where it went on that.
It's as clear as mud. Thank you. Councillor Bell.
I just pulled up the Master Transportation Plan that we approved recently. And it said to the effect, an alternative 24A truck route discussed subsequently prohibitive costs. That was one thing. That was about the cost of the bridge, but also land access through the active Dufferin Paris gravel pit are known barriers to the development of a bypass in the short or medium term. So we have said that. Yeah. And so we should be, we should be thoughtful about decisions we take today, which make decisions in the future more difficult or impossible.
Thank you for that, Councillor Bell. And again, thanks to all the other councillors for separating it from the application that was in front of us. Councillor Miller.
Just a procedural question, Mr. Mayor. In when we do these planning meetings, my understanding is procedurally, if I move a motion, I can't speak against it. Is that correct?
Through your worship to Councillor Miller, I do believe that would be correct, just as moving it gives the implication that you would support it.
Okay, the seconder can, the mover can, and that's why, like tonight, we have three, where the recommendation is to approve. And I know procedurally, Mr. Mayor, you want that on the floor so we can talk it, but I'm reticent to move anything because I don't know if I'm going to support it or not till I've heard all the speakers. Does that make sense?
It does make sense, and I don't know if you noted tonight, but I had a hard time getting someone to put anything on the floor all three times that I asked for. Though, I mean, it came, but it came after I did 3 or 4 scopes of the council. So I'm not sure how that's going to be able to be solved, because you're right. You're going to make comments on what you hear, and it is hard. I don't know whether you can't speak against it. I mean, we have to get it on the floor, and I mean, everyone's going to learn new information right after it's put on the floor. So I'm not sure how we get away with that. Maybe this new system we're going to investigate momentarily is going to cure all of that. I'm not sure. But I don't know how else we do that, because it's got to be put on the floor.
Could we refer that back to the clerks and
Sure.
maybe they come up with a simple, we remove that procedural bylaw, or we pass a motion that we ignore it for planning application. I don't know, but like I say, I will not move one of the recommendations because I don't know if I'm going to speak against it, and that's why you never see my hand go up for any of the.
No, and you know what? That makes perfect sense. I think I'm looking at the clerk over there, and she's shaking her head yes, that we can maybe all the clerks can get their heads together and figure out how we can fix that, because it doesn't seem right. Councillor Chambers?
Why does it have to be put on the floor before the public meeting?
I'm not sure. I just thought that anything has to be put on the floor before we can speak to it.
It's on the agenda as a public hearing, so it doesn't have to be put on the floor. It's on the agenda. The public meeting happens, and then how do we deal with the public meeting is closed? How do we deal with it? That's when it should be put on the floor. I think that's how it should be.
Okay, well then maybe you've just saved the clerks a lot of time, and that's great. I'm just going the way we've been doing it, so we'll let the clerks sort that out. Any other new business? Other business? Seeing none. Councillor Kyle, you're going to take us in camera.
Yep, thanks, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Coleman that Brant County Council convene in camera to discuss the following: Paramedic Services Committee special meeting in camera report from March the 5th, 2025, and S239 3.11. The meeting is held for the purpose of educating or training the members, which will be eScribe Pro app.
Thank you. We'll just take enough time to clear the room, and then we'll come right back.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. And this is moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Pierce. It's whereas the collective agreement between the County of Brant and OPSU Local 256 expired on March 31st, 2023. And whereas a memorandum of settlement between the bargaining agents for the County of Brant and OPSU Local 256 has been reached, that the Paramedic Services Committee recommend ratification of the terms of the memorandum of settlement, and that a bylaw authorizing the mayor of the County of Brant and the clerk to execute a new collective agreement between the county and OPSU be presented to County Council for its consideration based on the terms included in the memorandum of settlement.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Pierce. The bylaws 26-25 to 30-25 be read a first time. Yep. Again, moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Pierce. The bylaws 26-25 to 30-25 be read a second time, and all preambles and clauses be adopted. Yep. The bylaws 26-25 to 30-25 be read a third time, passed, signed, and executed.